Listen, before we begin, I have to put this up here right in front so that there's no misunderstanding. Nothing presented in this recorded recovery seminar is intended to be, listen, nor does it constitute diagnosis of anything of any kind or medical anything of any kind. I don't do that. Others do that. What I do is present some things from another way of looking at them to see if they can be of some help. I put another spin, another angle outside the box for those who struggle. So I'm reaching out. I'm reaching out to help them. See if in this that I presented to those in attendance on that day and how I presented it to them, you too can find some new and helpful understanding. This is an outside-the-box, another approach recovery seminar for those alcoholics and addicts who struggle with their sobriety, many of whom have relapsed again, and yes, yet again. See if it helps you. Here's the seminar. There's a lot of reasons why people turn to alcohol and drugs. One size does not fit all. So the topic is coping skills and addiction. Now here's what I say. The alcoholic and the addict does not have coping skills. The addict and the alcoholic has a short fuse, baby. And they can't cope with, most can't cope with the problems that they have made in their lives by either, watch this now, either by what they did that caused the problem or what they didn't do and should have done that caused the problem. Can you grasp that? How many people should have done some things and taken care of some things and tended some things? Hands here. And you didn't take care of it. You didn't tend to it. You let it slip. You let it slide. You wouldn't face the reality of it. And the next thing you know, And so the way you cope then with life, addicts, alcoholics, men and women, is you use substance, alcohol and or some kind of substance, to escape. The drugs, they say, well, it's crack, it's cocaine, it's heroin. No, it's not. Its name is the Great Escape, and it calls whenever there's a problem. It calls out, it says, are you in pain? Are you hurting? Are you sad? Are you lonely? Are you bored? Did the romance break up? Is he cheating on you? What happened? Did something big happen? It rained today? I'm calling, man. I'm the Great Escape. I'm in the hands of the dealer. I can take you away from whatever's wigging you out. In fact, if you're trying to run away from your feelings, it says, I could help you because I'm the Great Escape. I'm going to kill you, but I'm going to help you to escape from whatever you're feeling, anything at all, you name it, I'm yours. Addicts, alcoholics who can't cope with a rainy day or can't cope with the trouble in their lives, whether they caused it or something else caused it, whatever it is, can cope, so you cop. It's easier to cop than cope. When you cop, you're out of it. It's gone for a short time, but it's back. And then you have to cop again and use again to make the feelings or your thoughts about the trouble or your anxiety or your boredom, whatever it is, go away again. So you say, well, you're an addict. Yeah, you're an addict, but they say you're addicted to crack, you're addicted to cocaine, you're addicted to heroin. And I say, no, you're addicted to escape. Because if we take the heroin away, and you take the crack away, take the cocaine away, take the alcohol away, now you can't cope. How many start to wig out? Let me see hands. Come on, I need honesty here. And so you're going to find something to use as an escape route, right? Because when you can't use, you need the chase. Isn't it true? Got to have the chase. So the addiction is to escape. The addiction is the excitement of the escape that takes you out of yourself, takes you out of your present situation, out of everything. And you have no ability to cope with whatever's wigging you out, so you use substance to escape. You cop. No coping skills, coping skills. Now, when you can't cop anymore, now the coping is gone. You can't use alcohol, you can't use drugs, you can't cop, period. Now, where do you go when you can't cope? You've been in that situation where there's no alcohol. Well, instead of, when you can't cope, instead of copying, since addicts, and I know there's seminars and courses on coping skills, but my experience has been when it hits the fan, it don't matter how many coping skills they taught you. How many know under that pressure you fold? Let me see hands. And you cop. Yeah. So here's what I'm talking about. Instead of coping skills which you don't have, I'm talking about coping help. Now you watch. In order not to cop, if you seek coping help, now watch this, help to cope. Coping help is when you know you're going to cop, when you know you have no coping skills to deal with the situation, the boredom, the moment, the event, the past, the memories that wig you out, that come up sometimes, memories that have lie dormant, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the memory kicks because of a song. How many ever heard that? Song, neighborhood, movie, anything, out of nowhere, there it is, right? It's called neuroassociation, deja vu, and you wanna cop. So you seek, if you're interested, now just listen, only if the desire in your heart is not to use. Only if the desire in your heart is to hear this, take it into your heart, and say, I had not ever heard this put this way. That instead of coping, because I have no coping skills, I seek coping help. Coping help means that you go to someone in the fellowship with whom you are close, and you share now with them, and not just one person. Because sometimes the way the addict shares what's wrong or going wrong is too heavy for any one person. So you might have to seek several people, not always blurt it out in the rooms, but if you do dump it in the rooms, listen, then what you need to do is say, is there somebody here that can help me with what I'm sharing here? Because I'm hurting inside. Can somebody help me with this? Now just listen. Coping help instead of copying. I'll tell you how it works. I'm going to show you a personal story. Coping help. This goes back many years ago. I had been estranged from my family. Hadn't seen my children in years, hadn't spoken to anybody. The disease of alcoholism and the behaviors that go with it damn near destroyed their lives. So they reached a point where they wised up and said, stay away. Don't tell us you're sorry. Don't tell us you're improving. Don't tell us you're changing. We don't give a damn how many fellowships you go to. We don't want you anymore in our lives. We don't want to see you, and we don't want to hear from you. I had a lot of trouble with that. I thought because I had changed, they were now accountable for taking me back and understanding. And I was to learn they don't have to understand nothing. They had a right to say, enough is enough. Go someplace else. So I hadn't seen the family in years. I had come into the fellowship. My sponsor, I didn't know from Adam on this stuff. My sponsor was away on vacation. New sponsor, new preppy in the fellowship. And I got a call from my daughter, which shocked me because I hadn't talked to any of them in years. And my youngest son, Craig, was 26, I guess. And she said, Dad, I said, what's happening? She said, Dad, Craig is dead. I said, what are you saying? She said, Craig is dead. Craig was killed, Dad. Craig was killed by a drunk driver. And here I am coming into AA, the drunk. What do you mean? He was killed by a drunk? Dad, he was a young kid. He had 4 DWIs, and he took his mother's car out that night. And Craig was working for a carting company, you know. It was his turn to with the big green barrel in the back of the sanitation truck, the last pickup of the morning, and he was dumping the trash in the truck. When the kid came down the block, Dad, she breaks down. She says, Dad, he hit the back of the truck where Craig was standing. He smashed him into the truck so hard, Craig's head came off. His head was rolling in the street, Dad. His head came off, his arm came off, blew him out of his shoes. He's dead, his head came off. Well, man, how many can see that was quite a blow? Let me see hands. So, that's when I said, okay, well, I know how to deal with that. How many know how to deal with that? Make the thought go away? Make the reality go away? How? Anybody? Talk to me. How many? Cop, use. But I knew, whoa, no way. So I went to the funeral parlor, and my son met me at the train, and he said, listen, don't start problems here. Craig is dead. Well, I wasn't going to start problems. I had finally come to myself. I had put it all down. So I went to the funeral parlor, and no one talked to me. There was the boy in the coffin, and I was by myself alone, and they had some people there just in case I was going to cause trouble, but I wasn't going to cause trouble. I stayed over that night by myself, out of my mind, in a motel. I didn't sleep. I drank coffee all night. The next morning I went as the funeral director, could I get in there early before the funeral? And I had written the night before my amends to my dead son. Tears all over the page where I said, you know, Craig, you couldn't buy toys for your kids, and I was tipping waitresses $20 for a cup of coffee to them. I mean, I was a mess. I couldn't even read what was on the yellow papers. I just took them and I put them down in the coffin, and I went to the funeral. And I went back to the city and I went to a meeting right away. Went back by train, went to a meeting. And at the meeting I raised my hand, I was called upon, and I explained what happened. And I said, you know, there's no way I can make it. I don't know where to run with this thing. There's no way. The guilt, the shame, the horror of the whole thing, I can't ever hold him in my arms. How many can see I couldn't cope? Could not cope. You understand? No coping skills to cope with that. So they took me to the coffee shop, and they talked about everything but the pain I was in. I left the coffee shop. I went right away to another meeting. And when there was a show of hands, I blurted it out. I said, I'm sorry if I'm out of line. I can't wait. I'm a mess. I was crying. And I shared what happened, and I said, I cannot stay alone. I cannot make it through the night alone. I barely did last night. I can't stay. I can't hold, see? And there was a couple there. Usually couples don't go to meetings, but they did. And they came over to me afterwards and took me to coffee somewhere where the crowd was not. And then I went home to their house, and I was up all night, the whole night, crying, and they talking to me, I talking to them. There was an early morning meeting they said to go to. They had some people meet me at the 10 a.m., and they gave me their phone numbers and made it through the day, and they met me in the evening. In the evening at the meeting they told me to go to, they introduced me to some other people, and I went and stayed with them that night. And for, I guess it was 6, 7 days, might have been 8, I don't know. But they were there for me. But I think the fact that I was so new in the fellowship that they did that. Now, I did not have any coping skills to cope with that. There was no way I could have dealt with it unless I sought coping help. I wanted the help. Listen to me. I knew, I heard enough stories early on. If I drank or if I smoked some weed or whatever I did, after that, to make that go away, something in me told me, man, you're going to go. You ain't coming back from that. This was a disaster. That boy was damaged. He saw a father that he should never have seen, and you're going to go blot all that out. At one point, you got to begin to take care of that. So I sought coping help, not the use of coping skills. Now, how many at this point can see something here that's different than what they've heard? To seek coping help, not coping skills. You don't have the skill to manage that, especially with this sickness in us. You can't do it alone. You have to have people in your life. There's a principle behind this called the bonding process. That's where you are bonded with people in the fellowship. They know you, you know them. Not because you say, hi, Lucille, hi, Larry, whatever it is. That's no good. You need to be bonded with them where they know your heart and you know their heart. Because when it happens, whatever the it is, in this case, that was the it that happened. But you need to be ready when the it happens, whatever the it is in your life. You don't know what it's going to be. How many people I've seen come back into rehabs again and again because there was a death in the family or more than one death in the family. How many used after a death? Let me see hands. Yeah, look at this. Because you can't cope. And if you don't have people in the fellowship close to you, you will cop because you don't have coping skills. But by being bonded with people in the fellowship, bonded close, tight, one heart knows another. You do things with them. You're in their life. They're in yours. You've jumped in their game. They jump in yours. You know them. It's called heart to heart. One heart knows another. So when the it, whatever the it is that happened in my life, that was the it. That was the it. And only by the mercy of God, there were people there that helped me. And only by the mercy of God that I had the forethought when they took me to the coffee shop to leave and go to another meeting. Anybody getting anything out of this? You run as fast as you can into the arms of someone in that fellowship with whom you are bonded, where they can give you the help to cope that you need. And coping help does not come from a slogan, nothing wrong with the slogans, but someone who talks to you back and forth, you say, they say, you say, over those nights, they said, I said, they said, I said, I cried, they said, I said. That was the only thing made it work. Run into their arms, but you can't run into the arms of people you don't know. I was very fortunate that night, very, very fortunate, because maybe I was new in the fellowship. But you see people go to meetings, they even have a home group, and they don't have that bond. A sponsor? Yes, a sponsor. But I got to tell you something. If my sponsor had been around when that happened, he never would have been able to handle the weight of the guilt and the crying and the remorse that I have. It took a bunch of people to do that. One person could never have handled it. Keep in mind that it's only for those who are still struggling and trying to get it, and they need to see things from a different angle. So you run into the arms of one person, two people, three people, not for an hour, not for an evening at the coffee shop. Who are there, you call them tomorrow. The next day I'm working now with someone who was hurt very, very badly and must speak with them probably 3-4 times in the course of a day. Whatever it is, you build them up. They collapse again. You get them up again. They go down again, up again, down again. And they have other people they talk to because I can't handle it all. No one can. It's called coping help in addiction. It's seeking the help that you can cope without coping. You can't get any clearer than this. I know in the beginning of the seminar it started very slow. But we're on it now. We're moving on it. Coping help. If the it happens, what is the it? You don't know what the it is. And the road of life are not just words. We're all traveling on it. So when this thing happened to my son, I was traveling on the road of life. And I couldn't handle what happened. So I sought coping help. I sought wise journeymen, people who had wisdom, people who had knowledge, people who had understanding, who helped me to understand, who helped me to cope. We seek wise journeymen. And in every addict and alcoholic's life, you need a sponsor, and you need 3, maybe 4 other people in your life with whom, as I said earlier, you are bonded, tight, heart to heart. They know your heart, you know their heart. You're in their game, they're in your game. You got to go find them. You could sit here like bumps on log and say, well, it's nice, but the man is speaking, with a microphone here and all that, but I'll dismiss it. I can't wait to get a smoke. Let me turn around and talk to somebody while he's talking. You listen. Your life is at stake. This may not be all hot and entertaining and wonderful in that sense. This is the reality. Addicts don't like that. Reality words. What do you mean reality words? What are you telling me? I got to do something? You're telling me, Rev, that I got to go find some people in my life that have wisdom, and so that they're there in my life in case it happens, something goes down, and they're there. I got to have them, Rev. The rooms are fun. The rooms are nice. The rooms are social. We go to the diner. We chat. Hey, how are you, Harry? How are you, Lucy? It's more than that. You don't have those people in your life, in your heart, no coping skills. Yeah, then you start to cop. It's not a diagnosis of anything, and what I say may be different than what others say. I'm not disputing the other resources, nor am I trying to be the best resource for information. But you got to figure every audience I get are people who heard the other resources, read the books of the resources, and there they sit. So you can't wake them up somehow and enlighten them to something in the way that they look at and break it down. That simple. And not to just say, oh, if it happens, the people will be there. I'll deal with it when it happens. I'm saying the opposite of that. I'm saying you deal with it up ahead. You deal with it ahead to have those people in your life, part of your life. Let me go further. If it's heart to heart, they are part of your heart, and you are part of theirs. They are close, like an extended family. You don't do it, you just go drift. Do you know over these years with people who they just drift, they don't have what I'm talking about here? Do you know how many used again? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. You need to have those people in your life. That's the armor that protects you from disaster. And you have that armor, you have those people in your life that you can run to and say, it happened. There was a death. There was this. There was that. What do I do? How do I handle it? The wise journeyman that you've chosen, the wise journeyman that you've put in your life in addition to a sponsor. People there. You enjoy their company. You have dinner with them. You do things with them. They're there in your life. They're not there. Where are you going to go? Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. And then you relapse and you wind up in the rehab again. I don't know what happened. I'm back again. You don't know what happened? I know what happened. I did a seminar on coping skills and addiction. I know what happened. I did a seminar on the bonding process. I know what happened. I did a seminar on the process of dumping and sharing. I know what happened. The words were background noise. The clarity of the words had no meaning. An annoyance. I'm offended at you, Rev, because in your seminars, when you talk, you make me responsible for doing something for my life. And I don't like that, Rev. I go to meetings. I got a sponsor. Doing something more to shield my life from disaster. Doing something more, going out of my way, putting forth more effort than that. Wow, I don't like that, Rev. In fact, the fact that you tell me I have to do that makes me not like you. Well, you go find those people in the rooms if you care about your life. And if you're listening to this somewhere, you turn it back and listen all over again. All over again. Get through the slow part. Don't worry about it. And you get to this where you begin to realize that you need to have those people in your life. Coping help because you have no coping skills. You find them. If it's too much trouble to find them, then you take the consequences of the disaster when it happens. Because you didn't have them available and around you. You can't live alone. No big deal trying to find them. You listen in the rooms, you watch, you look, even around the table at the diner as people talk. Look for the ones who have some wisdom when they talk. Maybe they're the boring ones. Check them out. They'll save your life. Years ago there was a song, I'm looking over a four-leaf clover that I never seen before. A four-leaf clover was lucky. They put four-leaf clovers in key rings. We was poor folks. We would walk up to my Aunt Isabel's house. We would make a picnic lunch and walk. And there was a big field on the way. We would spread the blanket. We would have a picnic lunch. And my little brother and I would look for four-leaf clovers in this huge grass area. And we'd say to my father, there's no four-leaf clovers here, Daddy. And he said, you keep looking, you'll find a four-leaf clover. No, there's none here, Daddy. We look. You keep looking. We always found a four-leaf clover because we was looking for a four-leaf clover. And if you look for wise people in the fellowship with whom you can bond that will help you, you'll find them. And they will be your four-leaf clover. And then you get tired of looking. I'm tired of looking. I looked around. I got somebody. I'm tired. Going back to my old ways. Well, I'll tell you something. The letter gets to where it's going because the stamp sticks to it. And if you stick to it, you'll find those people. And they will be a shield against disaster. They will sweeten your life. They will be part of your life. There will be a joy in that kind of fellowship. You bond with them. They know your heart. You know their heart. There's safety in that. There's safety when it happens. For me, that it happened. Never in my wildest dreams when I picked up the telephone. Never would I ever think that. And a young boy, son, could never hold him on my arms. He was 26. He had straightened out his life. He had a young wife. He had 3 children. The youngest was 3 weeks old, a little girl. And he was dead. You see the jolt? How do you make amends for that? If I didn't have those people that night, it would have been all over. If I didn't have those people that night, it would have been all over. I wouldn't be here talking to you. I made an amends to my son. Years after he died, I bought the gravesite next to his as a means of saying, Craig, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Coping skills? No. Coping help. Hey, if you found this Outside the Box recovery seminar that I just presented helpful to you, then share it. Share it with friends on Facebook and on Twitter and on your other social media accounts. You may help someone else's recovery by doing that. Well, that's the seminar. It's important, however, to understand that it's not offered as a replacement for your participation in the treatment and self-help programs that are available. It's offered to you for the purpose of opening new understanding and to encourage you to get into the appropriate self-help and treatment programs that are available for your life. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you around. I'll see you around.